Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new version of the series of workshop that we are hosting from Metis L2. So today we have a very special guest, Victor from Ormi Labs. We are going to be talking and showing things that are very, very useful for developers. I just don't want to spoil the surprise, so I just want to send the mic back to Victor Fay. How are you doing today, Victor?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Amazing. And tell us a little bit about Ormi before we get started, and what is it that we're going to be seeing today?
Sure. Okay, I will do a bit intro. My name is Victor, and I'm the founder and CEO of Ormi Labs. Ormi Labs' vision is actually to become the read layer for all blockchain ecosystems. So think as the layer between blockchain and the application. So we actually our goal is to like index, store, and make all blockchain data useful and demystify it. And with the Metis Foundation, we are the core provider behind Metis Subgraph, which is one of the indexing standards that give developer real quick access to providing like live data for any smart contracts that they deploy to the Metis network. So today we'll be like going over through kind of how the Metis subgraph works. And let me quickly share my screen real quick. Just give me
Absolutely.
yes,
And
yeah,
in the meantime, I would invite everyone who's watching us today to provide some support to our channel if you like the content that we're producing by subscribing and let us know what you think and what other things you would like us to share over here in this series of workshops. These are devoted for developers that are starting their journey in, EVM based smart contract development for using Solidity, of course, and the tools that they need, because we have seen that a lot of people know like the basis of Solidity, but then when it comes to building decentralized application, they lack certain tools for improving their development process and making things better in general. So that's why we started doing this series of workshops from the Metis side. So let me bring back to stage your screen. All
sure.
right,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah, so before I go into the product, I want to kind of give a very short overview on essentially like the data problem within crypto. So essentially, right, like if you've been writing smart contracts, you know that blockchain is complicated. Like with all the hexadecimal, if you deploy a smart contract, actually there isn't really a tool where you can easily retrieve data from it. In the traditional, workflow had been that people simply get an RPC node and they write their own transformation data pipeline. But that all that just becomes very difficult as your project scales, right? And so the Graph Foundation actually, is a pioneer in this. Is that where they launched this product or solution called the graph, right? The graph is simply, in short, it's a GraphQL adaptation, like almost like a one-to-one mapping to data on smart contracts, and then with a few different, deploy commands, we're actually able to, very fast retrieve data from the blockchain. And Ormi Labs, we essentially build out the solution for Metis Foundation. You can actually access it here at metis.xgraph.xyz. Xgraph is our the product branding, and soon this actually will be migrated under Metis.io domain. And the example today we will be going over is this repository directly from the Metis Foundation. This is an example subgraph that tracks through stablecoin MUSD transfer and token approval. And I'll kind of quickly when we actually get to the deployment stage, I will kind of quickly go over what this is about. First of all, I want to mention that our subgraph solution is supposed to make it as simple as possible for developers. When you log in, right, there is actually um, only a couple buttons, right? Like I wanted to kind of do a quick view before we actually dive in. So, for example, explore subgraphs. There are a few public ones that you can query right away. Like, for example, we have a subgraph about Ethereum block, like blocks on Metis, and then those are the public subgraphs you can query. And to deploy, we actually compiled it down to these simple 6 steps that by following, you should most likely be able to get up and running. And for much longer instruction, we have a dedicated documentation page, which is at the bottom at the footer here. And I kind of wanted to point out that in the documentation, it goes into the details about how to create an account, as well as a cheat sheet. So we will kind of do both the cheat sheet as well as the this quick start guide. So first of all, let's actually start by going to GitHub, right? And then I'm gonna walk through the process. Like if you're a developer that's somewhat familiar with Node.js, like how would this entire process uh, work, right? So let me pull up my other screen and terminal here real quick here. Just give me a second here.
So
Yeah, as I'm pulling this out, yeah.
okay, it's just that it seems that you stopped sharing your screen.
Okay, sure. So you see my Visual Studio Code, right? Let me launch a terminal. So pull this terminal high. I'm working at this. I'm going to make a new directory called new here. So this is our directory. We will be, first of all, right, let's check out this Metis subgraph repository called git clone. And now we go in here, right? So on the right, you actually will see, so right now, like we have essentially the sample subgraphs we downloaded, and I wanted to kind of quickly go over, what each of this consists of. The subgraph can be as simple as you want, as complicated as you want. So think about a subgraph as a data transformation or data model definition where you map it to something happens on the blockchain and you do custom transformation. So first of all, like the document I want to point out is the subgraph.yaml file. Online you can actually find many resources, right, regarding subgraph deployments, as well as from the Facial Graph Foundation. What our solution provides is actually one-to-one mapping. So like whatever that exists on the Graph Foundation will also work here. I'll kind of quickly go over this now. So a few things you can define, like the most important is regarding network. So Andromeda or network Metis will be targeting towards the Metis network. This is one of the most important things to define when you are deploying here. And then this contract is simply mapping MUSD USDC transfer. So a few things that we need to define, such as the ABI. We have the ABI JSON file right in the folder here, and as well as some of the event handler. Here is like we kind of track transfer, right? So there are some TypeScript code that tracks that. the detail in the mapping file. The detail I actually want to go over. And there's another field called entities. Entities are think that as data objects or data units, right? We kind of try to index here. The two units are essentially what this transfer is about. The other is who's the user. And then for this, we can actually see it in the source mapping. Sorry, give me a second. In actually the subgraph. Sorry, in the schema file, this will kind of define the entity. Here is a very simple fields that we're really trying to indexing and fetch from the subgraph. Later on, when we share the GraphQL, endpoint in the GraphQL Explorer, you will be able to kind of track these entities here. So yeah, I mean that's kind of as simple as this, and of course this package from Metis has some of the built-in scripts. We will kind of reference this. And let me share. Just give me a second here. So this is as this is kind of when it comes to the high level overview. This is where essentially kind of what a subgraph consists of. Now it's time for us to actually deploy this. Let me try to share.
So just to summarize here, what have we done so far? What have we done?
Okay, sure. So what we have done here right now is that we have Git cloned the repo from GitHub and then walked over kind of what a subgraph file actually contains. We still have not yet deployed it, and let me actually try to deploy it by sharing my other screen. So excuse me that we're sharing multiple screen at a time.
Sure, no
Yeah,
worries.
I'll just share this entire desktop. It will probably be easier. Entire screen here. So this will be easier here. Okay. So I suppose you see my entire screen, right? So let me first of all pull up the browser window. Yeah, I suppose you can see this correctly, right? The current.
I can see the Metis graph page.
Perfect. Sure. Yeah. So what I want to do now is following our quick start guide, right? There are two ways in the GitHub repo. There is built in the package JSON, but a lot of the time you will be defining your own package JSON. So let's actually start by just following the quick guide here. So let me give me a second here. Right. So this is make it bigger. Make this turn it bigger here. Our developer. So the terminal is right now in a focus. So first of all, npm, I would assume everybody has npm here. And the first step would be downloading the Graph Protocol CLI. So this is the official Graph Protocol CLI that we use. I will install here, which shouldn't take too long. So okay, our Graph CLI is installed, and now next is trying to authenticate. So because of you know um, you know so now next step we're trying to authenticate, right? This API key, deploy key, you can find it in your settings page, and once you generate it, it will automatically pop here. This is the sample test key that I have. Click this button, will automatically copy. So the command line prompts you for the deployment key, so I copy it here. So now the deployment key is set for the Metis subgraph deploy endpoint. It's actually very crucial that we specify the endpoint URL, because you don't want to deploy it to another graph system. You only want to deploy it to the Metis ecosystem. The next step is what's called a code gen, which is generating the typing and binding for this. So code gen will generating the binding, which converts the types we have into objects that's able to get deployed. The next step is graph build, where we actually, oh, hold on a second, build build this. There looks like there's some error. Let me try one more time. Live debugging here.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
worry,
Yeah,
usually
I think
happens.
I think it's this. I think it's this. Sorry, let me keep because we need to define the output directory. Just give me a second here. So now it's actually a good time to look at this package JSON, because sometimes you need to, when you do code generate, you need to actually specify where the output probably is. So here I guess we use the codegen-o source generated. Okay, now let's try graph build again. This should actually work here. Okay, here we go, right? We finished build it. I guess the error above was that we need to specify the source and generated folder for the binding types. All right, so now it comes to create and deploy. So we use this create shortcut from our quick start. Create simply means we're registering. Create simply means we're registering the subgraph, onto the Metis network, and then let's name it something simple to remember. Let's call it test org USDC. Just call it simple, yeah. Okay, so we created this, registered this in the graph server, and now last step is that we need to deploy this here. Deploy this, we simply will need to also specify the IPFS endpoint as well, in addition to the Metis graph node. So let's call it test org USDC. So when you press this, this will automatically be deployed to the Metis system here. So in your dashboard, in fact, you can see this new, let me just refresh this. There we go. This is what we just deployed right now here. There's another option for making this public. Making this public means everybody else on Metis network will be able to access your endpoint. And then before that, I wanted to mention that behind the name, you can actually click on this, and you can see metrics related to metrics as well as logs, right? Related to this subgraph you deployed. There's also status API where you can query the sync status and how, if you find, sometimes people, developer find it's helpful to directly integrate this endpoint into their app so they can monitor like the subgraph. We also have analytics here, and of course this we did not get any requests, so we see it as 0. But let's try to make some simple queries here by click on the GraphQL link. So there we go. This is the playground, right? A few things that are helpful is this query called, okay, let me actually go back here. Yeah. So this query called meta, which actually is a shorthand for giving you where we are in the sync stage. Hold on a second. Some more errors here. We need to get rid of it here. Right here. Sorry. Okay, let me just restart this here again. So one simple query you can do is called meta, where we'll give you the block number and timestamp, right? This is the current block that we currently are on right now. And then a few of the, earlier I mentioned regarding the entities defined, right? Entities in the file. Let me just, we don't really need this. Earlier I mentioned regarding this schema, like transfer user. So this kind of corresponds directly to what you can see here. Let's kind of query this transfers regarding token transfers. Something quick here. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Transfers type. Okay, there we go. These are the recent transfers kind of regarding USDC on Metis, so we can track all the data at per defined in our schema earlier. Let's just type users, see what happens. What do we have here? Users, right? Okay, so these are some of the users that made a recent USDC transfer. Maybe perhaps to cross-reference, let's check out Metis Explore, so we can confirm that data is correct. This is one of the users that we have here. See, recently, I mean, this is from 28 days ago, but this person made MUSDC transfer. So we kind of confirm that the data is accurate from here and there. And I wanted to mention earlier that we deployed this, right? So now we can actually see, hey, we made 3 queries because we pressed the button 3 times at 7 millisecond latency, right? What we're proud of is actually we provide one of the fastest, graph subgraph solutions on the market. So this query only took 7 milliseconds to execute and return the results. So as far as it is, these are the core functionalities. Simply go through this quick start guide, and then you may be able to deploy and query your data right away. This can be set up as simple as 3 minutes. And of course, once you're done, if anytime you want to get rid of this, there is let's now try to delete this subgraph, right? Let's we can also like do sorry, give me a second. So now let's also show deletion, how deletion will work, what we just deployed. So essentially, we specify the same endpoint. Instead of deploy, we do graph remove. There we go. We remove subgraph test org USDC. Let's refresh the page. Okay, that's been cleared up.
Yeah,
So this is the, yeah.
it seems pretty clear. I have a few questions, like pretty like simple questions. One is, okay, once I'm able to query this data, uh, how can I save it for further processing or to integrate it with other things? Like, what is kind of like the workflow that developers should get used to when working with these kind of tools?
What do you mean by, do you mean this deployment process, or once we deployed a subgraph?
Once it is deployed and you start getting some data.
I'll try my best to answer your question. So once we deploy, right, this graph, this endpoint, it's actually ready to use. It's essentially just integrate into your endpoint, and then whatever query you did on this can be simply used in any API calls you want to be able to retrieve
Got it.
like live data as well as historical data from the blockchain. Yeah. If you define your subgraph to be starting with block 0, you would have all the historical data.
Got it.
This is just an
Got it.
API platform. Data is as much as you want it, however you want it. Yeah.
Got it. Then you have all of the freedom and flexibility once it's
Right.
deployed.
Yeah.
And my second question is, at some point you showed that you could make these deployments public. So I was wondering, what are kind of like the most common scenarios in which developers, would be interested in doing so?
I see. So one common thing we see is like if you're a decentralized application, you wanted to make yourself more visible, and then part of that is, hey, opening up an API where people can query your data, right? So, for example, I'm RVV3, right? On Metis, I would typically make it public, so that people can make it easier for developer. Otherwise, developer have to deploy their own, RVV3. Then that kind of gets duplication, right? Now there's official RVV3 open there so that people can use it.
Got it. Yeah, no,
More
it
from
makes sense.
apps ecosystem, yeah, perspective, yeah.
And yeah, and actually kind of connected to that, what are like the main use cases that you have seen from developers that are using already Ormi?
Our current use case. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So We actually have many environments like this as well as like a mini environment. What we have seen mostly is two things. One is live data, like for decentralized exchanges right now.
Mm,
Essentially, the subgraph has become the standard where people use it to display to their application, like trading pairs, all those trading related data. So essentially, you think it's like in this case, it's actually very much time critical because if your subgraph is down or there's lagging, people won't be able to make a trade. So that's like powering real time, decentralized trading. The other commonly we have seen is for internal data pipeline, because subgraph stores all the historical data. It's actually a transformation data model as well. So essentially, people just hook this API up to their internal system. They dump this into whatever database or data lake they have, and then they can run, custom analytics on top. So yeah, so essentially both like internal ETL pipeline use case as well as external directly connecting to app.
got it. Got it. And then I know that we have to close in a few minutes. If there are any questions from the audience, please make to sure to paste this on the comments of the streaming. And if not, you can reach out to me on social media or on Telegram, so we can discuss any questions you might have about this. But now I want to, before we close, I have like one or two more questions I want to ask
For sure,
Victor. Thank you
for
so
sure.
much. It has been very clear how to use it. I was wondering about kind of like the comparison between what you guys are doing and the graph itself. Like,
For sure. Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah. So first of all, like Graph has paved the way, right? Graph, yeah, there is a decentralized network out there serving different needs. But first and foremost, the Graph is an open source standards, essentially getting data, indexing data, right? Everybody kind of knows the Graph. So as it being open source, right, kind of anybody can spin up, indexing service and run it. So essentially, that's first and foremost, we want to make our experience easier one to one as the graph with the developer. So we are 100% compatible with the graph. Everything you have on the graph, perhaps experiencing some performance issues, that subgraph is 100% compatible and runs on Metis subgraph here. So think of it as same standards as the graph, but much more performant and user friendly, developer friendly with internal metrics tracking with easy to manage user system. So you don't really have to worry about where to host, for the Metis ecosystem. Just come here, register your key, and deploy. As simple as that.
Simple as that. Yeah, it sounds
And
quite
we do all the heavy lifting for the data engine, for the indexing, for the performance. So you just have to worry about defining your data schema or your subgraph.
got it. Got it. Pretty straightforward. And
Mhm.
final question regarding like plans of the future. What are you guys going to be looking for? I don't know if this year or the next year with Ormi.
So I mentioned earlier that we're really trying to be the read layer that connects, all the blockchains. What we're really looking for, this is only kind of one of the, the data niche that we're fulfilling. What we're looking forward to actually is that, there are, there are a couple of things. One is, interoperability, right, in this entire blockchain ecosystem with what 0xGraph has pioneered, and we're actually looking to, extend this to some of our other product offerings that involves, bulk historical data as well on top with more like intelligence build out so that, as a developer, you can even abstract more away, not just focus on like, hey, what does this transfer mean? But you really can like have a much more higher level, uh, summary of what's happening on chain for data, for query. Part of that will be like large language model type of query. So because right now, right, 0xGraph is only focused on like data APIs, but soon, actually, there are going to be, more human readable type of data that's built on
Hmm.
top of this whole data service. Yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to.
Awesome. Sounds exciting. Yeah. So I would encourage everyone who's watching us now, or if you watch this in the future, please make sure not only to subscribe to our channel for more content like this, but also to check out Ormi, what they are doing, and use it and provide us feedback so that we can improve and we can keep providing you the best developer experience uh, thanks to this amazing tool. So once again, thank you so much, Victor. I don't know if you have any final words that you want to share with our audience. On my
For sure.
end, I'm ready. I'm all set. You
Okay.
answered all of my questions, and I'm really happy we did this.
And yeah, one last thing I wanted to point out is, we really try to make this as simple as we can. So to get started, simply just follow the quick start, or there's a more detailed guide on the documentation here where you should find all your needs to meet the subgraph and how to create, as well as more and advanced usage such as, graphing and all that. Yeah, so feel free to check out the app as well as the documentation. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Yeah. Always, when you get started, you have to check out the documentation. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for
Perfect.
bringing that to our attention. Thank you so much, Victor. People in the audience seems to be happy. They say thank you as well. Good information. So we will be doing more of this probably in the future. But for now, that's it. Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Sorry, week.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Take
Bye
care.
bye.